Buongiorno. Buongiorno, mi chiamo Cristina Olsen. Sono una professoressa di italiano a George Mason University. Benvenuti al corso. Greetings. My name is Cristina Olsen. I am an associate professor of Italian at George Mason University. Welcome to our course on learning Italian. This course is a great opportunity to learn one of the most beautiful languages spoken in our world today, Italian. Italian is the language of art, music, history, literature, cinema, amazing culinary traditions, fashion, and more. It's the language of Dante, Puccini, Leopardi, Fellini, and even Ferrari and Ferragamo. Italy is also a leader in many technological fields, such as robotics, and is considered to be at the forefront of innovation and engineering. The reach of the Italian language is as broad as its culture and history. You can find speakers of Italian not only in Italy, but around the world. In the US alone, over 1 million people speak Italian. But why should you learn Italian? Aside from the many proven cognitive benefits of learning an additional language, learning Italian can enrich your life both at home and abroad. It will enhance your experience of this amazingly diverse country. Should you be planning a trip there in the near or distant future, and expand your appreciation of Italy's rich complexity, even if you never have the opportunity to visit. But to really understand Italian, you need to understand Italy, so we'll approach this course as a journey through the many regions of Italy, which we'll explore as we learn the nuts and bolts of the language, its grammar and vocabulary. Learning Italian can also enhance the many ways that we experience Italian culture today, in its different forms all around us. Italian culture has defined many things about our everyday life. It's a part of our food culture, our entertainment, and our consumer items in ways that are hard for us to even notice anymore. Just consider all the words that English has imported from Italian wholesale. Words like extravaganza, fiasco, maestro, bravo, finale, duo, studio, manifesto, influenza, and many more. In both its high and low forms, from the influence of Dante on our ideas about the afterlife to the pasta on your plate, Italy is the birthplace of many traditions that touch most of us. Studying the language and the culture allows us to view our daily lives deeply, expand our horizons, and become well-informed citizens of an interconnected world. Many of you may be motivated to learn Italian in order to discover the land and language of your ancestors. Many immigrants in the past chose not to speak Italian with their children when they left their native shores, so even if Italy is part of your heritage, you may know very little of its language. Perhaps you don't have Italian ancestry, but you have traveled to Italy and wish to be able to converse with the people you have met there, to increase your ability to connect with the friends you've made and the ones you'll make in the future. This is just another reason you may wish to learn Italian, to make it a part of your life socially and emotionally. Whatever interests you about Italian, I hope you will enjoy this journey with me as you learn how to speak, write, and read the language of the bel paese, the beautiful country, Italy. This course follows what is called a content-based approach to learning the language. We will be guided by linguistic elements and cultural elements at the same time. The reason for that is simple. Languages learned in context are retained better, more quickly, and for a longer period of time. Our content will be the 20 geographic regions of Italy, which includes those on the Bruschetta Peninsula and on the islands of Sardinia and Sicily, in addition to the many smaller islands. The number and diversity of Italy's many regions make this a unique country to visit and to study. Regions often claim their own linguistic and cultural traditions, from the dialects spoken to the recipes they follow and the ingredients cultivated. These regions are further distinguished by their geography. We generally divide up the regions of Italy in terms of the north, il nord, the central part, il centro, and the south, il sud. The geography of Italy includes everything from mountain ranges, lakes, rivers, and fertile plains to coasts and active volcanoes. Italy is flanked by the Adriatic Sea to the east, the Mare Adriatico, the Ionian Sea, the Mare Ionio, and the Mediterranean Sea, the Mare Mediterraneo to the south, whereas the Tyrrhenian Sea, the Mare Tirreno, and the Ligurian Sea, the Mare Liguria, are to the west. It is important to think of Italy as a whole composed of these different parts. While the idea of Italy can be found in the work of many great authors and thinkers over the centuries, from Dante to Petrarch to Machiavelli, the truth of the matter is that Italy has been a geographic identity longer than it's been a national one. And even now, with a unified nation, one can't speak of an all-encompassing Italian culture, but rather of many distinctive cultures that share this geographic area. This diversity defines the richness and beauty of Italy. It is why you must spend time in not just one Italian city or region, but several. We will approach our tour of Italy's regions in this spirit, as individual pieces of a beautiful whole, with their own distinctive contributions to art, music, history, literature, cinema, cuisine, fashion, and more. So let's get to it. Cominciamo! Let's learn the Italian alphabet and pronunciation. There is one important learning strategy that you should remember. Italian is written as it is spoken. It is a phonetic language. When nearly everything in a language is pronounced, it makes your job as a learner much easier. As we practice together, please be sure to repeat along with me. Looking in a mirror is key if you want to see how you will make these sounds with your mouth, tongue, and throat. You have to open up your mouth wide to speak Italian, much wider than when you speak English. First, let's get to the vowels. A, E, I, O, U. Repeat them after me. A, E, I, O, U. Sometimes E's or O's will be open or closed. A closed E in Veneto and an open E for Marche, for example. A closed O for Livorno and an open O in Otranto. Vowels are distinctive and are rarely elided, that is to say, blended together into one sound or skipped over. Let's read through the regions and pay close attention to how vowels and consonants are pronounced. You may read along with me if you'd like to give it a try. Abruzzo, Valle d'Aosta, Basilicata, Calabria, Campania, Emilia-Romagna, Friuli Venezia Giulia, Lazio, Liguria, Lombardia, Le Marche, Molise, Piemonte, Puglia, Sardegna, Sicilia, Trentino Alto Adige, Toscana, Umbria, Veneto. Consonants in Italian have very particular characteristics, some of which you probably noticed as we were reading these names. The first item you might have noticed was GN. This is pronounced like canyon. We saw it in Sardinia and in Emilia-Romagna. You know it from lasagna, for which the Emilia-Romagna region is famous, and gnocchi, the tender dumplings that are prepared in different ways all over the country. Another thing about consonants that you might have noticed was the way that C's and G's function in front of vowels. They are hard in front of all vowels except for E and I, where they have a soft sound. Pay attention to this because it can be counterintuitive. You say, for example, Friuli Venezia Giulia, but you would say Liguria with a hard sound. This is also why we say Sicilia with a soft C. But it is why we pronounce Marche with a hard C. 3 final observations about pronunciation and consonants. The first is the combination of GL, which sounds like million. You noticed it earlier in Puglia. Please repeat after me. Puglia. The sound is made mainly at the top of your throat, and you can feel it if you put your fingers at your neck like this. Puglia. The second thing we must remember about consonants is the function of double consonants called consonanti doppie. They are pronounced for a longer time than a single consonant and are given more emphasis. Repeat after me. Campobasso. Campobasso is the capital of the Molise region. Did you hear how the double S was held for longer? Then you got it. And now you know how to pronounce these words correctly. Spaghetti, pancetta, notte. Just take longer pronouncing those double consonants. Why is it important? Well, nonno with 2 N's means grandfather, but nono means ninth. Penna means pen, while pena means pain. You can imagine the confusion that arises when double consonants aren't pronounced correctly. The last item about pronunciation is the rolling of R's. How do you do it? It is an acquired skill, but you can learn. One of the best ways is to repeat this tongue twister, Tigre contro tigre, many times over. It literally means tiger against tiger. An intimidating thought, maybe, but really it doesn't refer to anything specific. It's just nonsense. Say it with me 5 times, and it should help you to roll your R's. Tigre contro tigre, tigre contro tigre, tigre contro tigre, tigre contro tigre, tigre contro tigre. Did you get it? You can always keep practicing. Now that we have our pronunciation down, we can review the 21 letters of the Italian alphabet. Please read with me. A as in Abruzzo. B as in Bologna. C as in Calabria. D as in Dolomiti. E as in Etna. F as in Firenze. G as in Genova. I as in Ischia, L as in Liguria, M as in Mantova, N as in Noto, O as in Orvieto, P as in Pisa, R as in Roma, S as in Salerno, T as in Torino, U as in Udine, and V as in Venezia. Okay, so some of the letters we're missing. H, pronounced H, is generally aspirated. It makes no sound. Q or Q makes the sound K, and Z or Zeta makes the sound S. There are also the letter J, called I lunga, K, known as K, W, known as W, X, known as X, and Y, known as either Y or Y. Those are all considered foreign letters. Finally, let's go over accents. In Italian, the stress most often falls on the penultimate or second to last syllable. Firenze, Salerno, Torino, Orvieto, Abruzzo. However, some words are stressed on the third to last syllable, such as Mantova, Genova, Udine. Only regular exposure and practice with the language, other than consulting a dictionary, will assist you in figuring out that difference. Italian does feature two written accents. The accento grave, which falls down, is more common, while the accento acuto, which rises up, is less common. Sometimes the accent can be found on the very last syllable of a word, most likely with an accento grave, such as città, city, nazionalità, nationality, società, society, and so forth. Yet words like perché, why or because, and other conjunctions feature the accento acuto that goes up. Now let's learn the verb to be, essere, and some brief greetings. There are two verbs which signify to be in Italian, essere and stare. Essere is used more often and connotes permanent states of being, such as character and identity, whereas stare signifies temporary states of being, such as feeling good or bad. You will generally use essere more than stare when you want to say to be. Verbs in Italian are conjugated according to subject and number. The subject pronouns, words such as I, you, he, she, and they in English, are actually not necessary to repeat unless you need to clarify or emphasize the subject. Think of it this way. These subject pronouns are built into the conjugated verb forms, unlike in French or English, for example. Here they are: io, I, tu, you singular, lei, she, lui, he, lei with a capital L, which is the you formal, noi, we, voi, you, the plural form, and loro, they, but also the plural form formal address with a capital L. Please repeat after me. Io, tu, lei, lui, lei, noi, voi, and loro. Bravi! Now we're ready to go over the conjugations of essere and stare. Please repeat after me. The verb essere: sono, sei, è, siamo, siete, sono. And the verb stare, sto, stai, sta, stiamo, state, stanno. Bravi. Now you may say, two of the forms of essere are exactly the same, io sono and loro sono. So how do we distinguish between them? It is not a problem. Do you remember how we started this lesson? In my third sentence, I said, sono una professoressa di italiano a George Mason University. I am a professor of Italian at George Mason University. I didn't say io sono because the subject pronoun is built into the verb and the context is clear enough from the singular noun professoressa that it is referring to me. There will always be contextual clues to help you figure out these distinctions, so don't worry. Let's go back to the verb stare. Stare is predominantly combined with specific words that describe temporary states of being, such as benissimo, very well, molto bene, also very well, abbastanza bene, fairly well, bene, well, male, poorly, and molto male, very poorly. We also use it to describe how someone is attentive, attento, or quiet, zitto. Or we use it to tell people to be attentive or quiet. Sta zitto, be quiet. Sta attento, pay attention. Stare is the verb we use to ask how people are doing. Come stai in the informal voice and come sta in the formal voice. We'll get to the difference between the informal and the formal voices in a moment. If you find it confusing to have two verbs that mean to be, remember that stare is basically only used to express being in these specific contexts: feeling well or poorly, or being attentive or quiet. In every other case, when you need to say am, are, or is, use essere. Now, knowing the verb essere opens all kinds of horizons for us. We can talk about where we are from. For example, sono di New York. The preposition di means from. We can talk about where others are from. For example, Dante è di Firenze. Dante is from Florence. Since Dante is a singular third-person subject, the form of essere we would use here is è. But if we wanted to talk about where both Dante and Machiavelli are from, we would say Dante e Machiavelli sono di Firenze. Dante and Machiavelli are from Florence. Since they are a plural third-person subject, they take the loro form of essere, which is sono. We can also ask where someone is from using the second-person singular and plural forms. In the informal voice, which is the tu form, this would be di dove sei? Repeat after me, please. Di dove sei? In the formal voice, you would say di dove lei? The lei here is optional and would only be used for clarification. Now, let's talk about the difference between the formal and informal voice. What is the difference? It all depends upon who your interlocutor is. In general, formal conversations, in which you use the lei form, the formal voice, are with individuals whom you do not know well, such as people in service capacities, salespeople, restaurant waiters, tour guides, or hotel employees, or individuals who are older than you, in positions of authority, and so forth. Using the formal voice is a sign of respect. On the other hand, you would use the tu form in informal contexts, with regular acquaintances, good friends, family members, children, and even domestic animals. You must use the correct form with people you encounter, because there is definitely the potential to offend, as I myself learned too easily during my first trip to Italy. When I first went to Italy, I was around 15 years old. I traveled there with my good friend Anna, and we stayed with her family in the Puglia region. Not knowing any spoken Italian yet, I was introduced to a group of older, distinguished ladies. I enthusiastically yelled "Ciao" to them, and they exchanged these looks of disapproval. I had no clue why they weren't impressed by my extensive knowledge of the language until it was explained to me that I should have shown them respect by using the formal greeting, buongiorno or buonasera. Don't make my mistake. Okay, let's go over the elements of a basic conversation. Buongiorno. This means good day, and it is the essential greeting. Buongiorno is a formal greeting that can be used anywhere. When you reach the ticket counter of the Uffizi Gallery in Florence, when you arrive at the bar, the word for cafe in Italian, to get your morning espresso and brioche, your pastry. It is versatile and respectful. If it is much later in the day, you say buonasera, good evening. Repeat this after me. Buonasera. The first part sounds like buon, you may say. But what's the A at the end? And here's a glimpse of our second lesson in Italian. Nouns and adjectives in this language change their endings to reflect gender and number. Sera, evening, is feminine and singular. Buona here is an adjective, and so its ending must match sera, the noun it modifies in gender and number. When parting ways, you would say arrivederci, until we see each other again. This is a long word, correct? Well, Italian has lots of long, beautiful, multisyllabic words. Let them roll off your tongue. Arrivederci. Bravi. We said before that buongiorno is both a formal and an informal greeting. If you are meeting new people, especially adults, or are in a workplace or a commercial environment, say like a store or a restaurant, use buongiorno or buonasera and then arrivederci at the end. You might also hear salve, which is for either a formal or an informal context. It means greetings. But what if you're in an informal context, say with familiar friends, children, relatives, or even a beautiful stray cat in the streets of Rome? You would say ciao. It is written C-I-A-O, but it is pronounced as if there were an H after the C. Do you recall the rule about soft G's and C's? Ciao means both hello and goodbye, but only in informal contexts. You could also say a dopo, until later, or alla prossima, until next time, at the end of your conversation. How do we state our names again? I said earlier, mi chiamo Cristina Olsen. My name is. Literally, I call myself. Repeat after me. Chiamo. It is a hard C sound because it's followed by an H. Just like the word, you should pronounce this way, bruschetta. How do you ask the other person their name? If it is a formal conversation, you say, e lei, and you. If it is an informal conversation, you say, e tu. And how would you respond? You would say, nice to meet you. And this is simple enough. Piacere. Repeat it after me. Piacere. And you guessed it, there is another soft C here. Bravi. Let's give it a shot. Forza! Here is a formal conversation. Please feel free to fill in the blanks. Buongiorno, mi chiamo Cristina Olsen. E lei? Mi chiamo Piacere. Piacere, arrivederci. Arrivederci. And an informal conversation. Ciao, mi chiamo Cristina. E tu? Mi chiamo Piacere. Piacere. Ciao. Alla prossima. Alla prossima. A few quick words about how to use this course. First, make it into a social activity if you can. For example, take it with a friend and schedule regular practice time together. Secondly, there is a workbook that accompanies the lectures. I recommend looking at the workbook before listening to a lecture, as it will help you feel more grounded in the material, especially the vocabulary and the paragraphs in Italian that open each lecture. Translations of all of those passages appear in the workbook. Finally, be sure that you immerse yourself right away in the language by watching Italian films and TV shows, taking a look at the headlines of an Italian newspaper each day, and even finding conversation groups in your local area. The workbook includes lists of suggested films and authors for each region. Please remember that one course cannot bring you to fluency on its own. It has to be a part of a larger strategy to learn the language. I look forward to seeing you next time. Or as we say in Italian, alla prossima!